Right. So you mentioned the advantage now of Central Asian countries having good relations with each other, which is, of course, the C5+1 format
Hmm.
and the related, that's the political aspect, the diplomatic sort of thing, and then the related B5+1 format. You as a businessman in the
Hmm.
region, could you tell us more about that and how what are the developments of it?
Sure, sure. Well, there was a so your viewers may be familiar with the C5+1, which now a good number of countries have them. The US started that, I think it was in the 2000s, uh, and so on. So it's basically the C5, meaning the five Central Asian countries plus one, the US. And now various countries do that with Central Asia. I think Japan,
Yep,
Russia,
Germany.
China, UK, this one, that one. Uh, so the C5+1 was between the governments of Central Asia and the US government. So the move was a few years ago, well, let's start connecting the business community and the business associations, which hence the B5+1.
Hmm.
So the B5+1 was actually under the US side, was given to administration by CIPE, Center for International Private Enterprise, which I was consulting with.
Hmm.
Uh, and we had the first B5+1 forum in Almaty last year, and it was supposed to be a yearly event rotating among, different Central Asian countries. I think next it was going to be in Bishkek or in Tashkent or, something like this, and so on. And the, mission was, as I say, not just to make between governments, but to connect the business communities, and also to work with business associations. So actually, when I was doing some consulting with SIPE, even the first thing we were doing was, and now let me try to remember, we were talking about different sectors of the economy, such as transport and logistics, such as agriculture,
Right.
such as e-commerce, tourism, and so on. And we were gathering the stakeholders in each Central Asian country in these areas. So those means the business associations that are working on them. So say whatever the Association of Tourism in Kazakhstan is, the association, and so on, and the private sector, and trying to come up with these policy documents where we find a few issues in the sector, in the country that need addressing
Hmm.
issues. And they can't be pie in the sky things and, take forever. They have to be, I don't want to say quick wins and specific things. So we got the stakeholders involved. We work on that. We had experts. Okay, this is the problem, the barrier, and this is the solution.
Hmm.
So we had that, and then we also introduced them to each other. So we would have like a tourism Central Asia event and get the tourist sector all together, or the transport and logistics and all this. And the papers were ready by the B5+1 last year, which was in Almaty, which I attended. Now, the thing that I noticed there were business associations there. Um, there was not much private sector involvement, from what I
Hmm.
could see,
Hmm.
both from the Central Asian side and from the US side, almost non existent.
Hmm.
Okay. And, you know, we had people from Department of Commerce at the time talking about trade winds program and this and that. And there's a US trade mission to this Central Asian country or that one or whatever. And I was thinking, why are they separate? Why not put everything together in one event? I came to this event, I thought there would be a lot more American private sector and local private sector involvement. There was
Right.
government involvement, there was some with business associations, but there was not a tremendous private sector that I could see.
Hmm.
And to me, it was unclear in a bit what are the next steps.
Hmm.
Um, and then the next step was, well, one of the things is to have this yearly conference, okay? But even before, frankly, even before Trump took office, it was postponed. So I think, initially it was supposed to be March this year, like March of last year, and then it
Hmm.
was postponed till October. I'm
Hmm.
not sure why. And now that he's took office, there's no talk of it at
Yeah.
all. And Site and the others, their funding is, as far as I know, kaput.
Hmm.
Okay. So I'm really not sure where that is going right now and what's going to replace it.
Hmm.
And as you know, with state getting cuts to its budget and USAID going, I'm curious to see what's going to replace it, if the DFC is going to get involved, which is the Development and Finance Council. It's like the US Development Bank. Okay, it used to be called OPIC, Office of, I don't remember what it was, OPIC. So I'm curious to see what next initiative there's going to be,
Hmm.
because right now I don't see much uh, besides the critical raw materials. I don't see much to engage the American private sector.
Mm.
And I can tell you, even you come here, if you look here, whether you say it's good or bad is something else. But if I'm a business developer, there's very few American franchises here. You understand?
Mm.
In Central Asia, and generally, even Uzbekistan. I mean, the rest of the world has seen, left and right, and you can multiply that by many other things. Now, yes, it's moving forward and so on. And if I can just say one other thing that I've mentioned, which I mean, it's not rocket science, and they're starting to do it. In the old days, the relations between the countries in Central Asia were not good between them. And this now it's completely changing for the better. Okay, that's why now we're talking about building logistics centers on the border, say Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, this, that, the other, among other things. Now, what the issue is, though, is that it's also up to these countries in Central Asia to make themselves attractive to American businesses and investors, especially knowing that they're so many thousands of miles away and this is not going to be high on their list.
Right.
And one of the issues is also recognition. And one of the things that I think is a very good idea, personally, and it's not rocket science, is, look, I'm not saying all five of the countries lose their identities and stop doing their own events, but there still have not been, from what I can see, joint investment in tourism events. So for example, instead, this investment forum in this country and that one is nice, but what about a joint one for
Yeah.
Central Asia, held in Central Asia? And same thing when you do, or tourism, when you do your road shows, when you go to Frankfurt, when you go to New York, when you go to all the Singapore, Dubai, this, that, London, to have joint. I'm again not saying don't do your own, but have something joint. Why I say, because if I know how an American thinks, if I don't know how anyone else thinks, I at least know how an American thinks. And an American is going to think, I'm sitting in New York or San Francisco, it's 10,000 freaking miles away.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
First of all, I've never heard of these countries. I have no idea who they are. Secondly, they're so far away, I'm probably going to only visit once in my life, right? But if you're just telling me it's one country, I can visit 200 freaking countries in the world, right?
Right.
But if you're telling me, hey, guess what? Ha ha ha, I can, deal with, I can visit or deal with clients from Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, just those two alone, if not any of the others, or on investing, if I go on a trip or I get pitched projects, if it's Uzbekistan. So if I come on a trip, I can hit three countries in one go and see so much. I mean, I don't guarantee anything, but I think that that would maybe make a lot more interest in the tourism and in the investment. So I think the countries are starting to do that, and to do more of these joint things would also help.
Right.
So B5 plus one in a nutshell. Not sure where it's going right now. I would love to see it continue. I would love to see more private sector involvement, but I don't know, and I don't know if anybody knows.
Right. 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 Yeah. I think it's
Yeah,
too early to
yeah.
to tell if and definitely way too far-fetched to talk about a sort of a unified chamber of commerce for Central Asian countries. But I get
One day it
your
will
point.
happen. We don't know when, but one day.
So this brings me back
Yeah,
to your point about Central Asia being definitely so far removed from the US and oceans being landlocked, you know,
right, 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 right.
transportation is a very big serious issue for all of us to consider because you know
Mhm.
there isn't much opportunity if we don't cooperate. That's my
Right,
perspective
right.
take on this
I
thing.
agree.
And
Yes,
could you tell us about how you see the logistics of Central Asia develop in the future, you know?
right. Great. Okay. So this is, another topic of mine that I'm very interested in as well. And, you know, as during the Soviet time, the logistics and the transport was oriented toward Russia.
Moscow.
As you can see now, it's very interesting because China, of course, has the railroads and the pipelines now to various countries in Central Asia, and they're now building, of course, the China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan railway, which has been talked about for 25 years, which is necessitating here in Uzbekistan. We even had meetings yesterday about, our logistics needs, our transport needs, our infrastructure needs, and on the border. They want to
Hmm.
build a big, well, they start small, but build a logistics hub on the border between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. They want to do one with Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan as well.
Hmm.
Uh, so a thing that I think fascinating, if you look at the map, though, is actually just on a wider thing, the opportunities for Azerbaijan because if you look at the
Right,
map, stuff would go through Russia,
right.
where now, because of sanctions, maybe not. Otherwise, the route is through Iran, which is also under sanctions in different
Iffy, yeah.
areas. So the only other way to go is through Azerbaijan. So Azerbaijan, must be, and I know all the different people on this middle corridor: Georgia, Turkey, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, so on. All are trying now because of the increase and what they think will be the increase in the future to modernize their logistics. And of course, you have this big issue. You don't only have the gauge change, between
Right. The
because
railways,
Russia
yeah.
has so in one thing and else, but of course, once it gets to the coast on Kazakhstan, the Caspian coast, or Turkmenistan, it has to be loaded into the barges or the ferries and then put back for Azerbaijan. This is out of the scope of this to go into the Caspian Sea and all that kind of a thing. But so
Mhm.
there's been also been these pushes now to trans-Afghan. If you look at the map of the world, there was no railroad going through Afghanistan, and now they're building from all sides. And
Mhm.
the hope is, of course, that this is not just the east-west, but this north-south corridor, which
Right.
could go to Afghanistan, go through Pakistan to give access to the sea, or continue through to India. And of course, no sooner do we speak, then again, the India-Pakistan issue happens. So you never know, which is why I always say, and it's not me, everybody says it's not my idea, but especially if you're landlocked, you got to have a ton of options. The more options you have, the better. This way, that way, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow in one place.
Mhm.
So, regardless, I think it's necessary.
Mhm.
And of course, a lot of stuff comes in, through Bandar Abbas in Iran, comes through up through to Turkmenistan.
Right.
So it's not just infrastructure though that we need here, but we've been in our um, talks, which is in many areas, it's new technologies because a
Mhm.
lot of the infrastructure is still based on older and Soviet technologies, new technologies, but even something else we keep seeing is training, because again, Central Asia was cut off from various parts of the world for a long time. It's just opened up to that. So there's a lack of familiarity with a lot of different concepts and
Mhm.
internet, soft and hard skills,
Mhm.
okay? How to do international business and also the hard skills and the training and all this kind of stuff. And that's one of the things we can is we need capacity building and training and all this stuff in managing it. in controlling it, in working it, and indeed even in dealing with the foreign companies, how to control them, how to manage. I don't mean control, I mean to come in. I mean how to deal with all this stuff. This is all new, and
Mhm.
this level of it. So it's soft skills, it's hard skills too. I mean the engineering, the 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 that part of it, the architectural part of it, the infrastructural part of it. So I think that's another area that can be a very potential for businesses is to look into the training and the
Mhm.
capacity building in these areas because it's a lot of need it seems in all these countries for that as well. So it's not just again the investment, it's not just the infrastructure, but who's building the investment and who's managing and running it afterwards. And another thing I think is key in this is if you're building this stuff, are you using local workers and upskilling local workers? Now, of course, foreign experts are going to have to come in to consult, to build, to do this and that. But I mean, the countries should want that their own guys are, and guys, I mean, men and women, their own guys are involved in job creation, and their own guys are then getting the knowledge and the skills
Mhm.
for this. And another part of that also is if you see new cities are being built throughout Central Asia and smart cities outside the original city.
Mhm.
So I think Almaty has a plan for this.
Yep.
Bishkek supposedly has a plan. Tashkent, the new city, is going to be built. We're talking about that right now. It'll double the population, will be 8 to 10 million people eventually. And even if you go into the regions, Namangan, there's a new Namangan being built, this and that. So there's going to be a lot of expansion of city area and transport and logistics. And I think another thing, just want to mention to you, I know ADB had a program on this. I don't know if they do, but I think this is very important since you have cities across borders that are major for your region that are very
Right.
close to each other, having city corridors. For example, Khojan, the
Mhm.
second largest city in Tajikistan, I think most of the businesses there and the factories, it's basically an hour to the border with Uzbekistan, 3 hour drive to Tashkent.
Yep.
Tashkent to Chimkent, the third largest city in Kazakhstan.
Yep.
It's 30 minutes to the border, and then it's basically a 2 hour drive, and you're there. Same
Mhm.
thing, Almaty, Bishkek, it's
No,
4 hours.
no,
And by the way,
no close. Yeah.
sorry, just to say one more thing, I've always been amazed in Soviet time, there's no railroad between Almaty and Bishkek. That's just a 4 hour thing. It would seem to me that would be a natural, even down to Isikul, from Almaty and Bishkek to Isikul. I know, for example, just on the logistics, high-speed railroad we have right now between Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara. I think they're going to build a second line on that. They're extending it to Khiva and Nukus. There's been talk about building a high speed between Tashkent, Chimkent, and Turkestan in Kazakhstan because of tourist area. So it's not just for moving the goods and the services, but for tourism. And is this many things can happen. I suspect when you check this map 30 years from now of this whole region, it's going to be radically different. So I see a lot of opportunities in this area. Just to sum up quickly, not just in the investment, but in the training and the upskilling. And again, there's so much that needs to be done that there's work for all countries. Doesn't matter what side of the geopolitical divide you're on. So that's what I can say about that.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for your insights. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it greatly also. And I look forward to, keeping up the dialogue. As I said, I've been in this region. I'll still be in this region a few more years. And even when I leave, it doesn't mean I won't be working and visiting the region constantly for the rest of my life. So,
Perfect.